What's poppin', everybody? Cerebral94. So one of the most interesting and cool Pokemon Celestial Storm brought us is Electrode GX. Based on the original Electrode EX, this Pokemon has a really neat ability that opens up the portal and possibilities for a lot of different attackers that normally don't have a chance. Maybe they can do some shit. These are Pokemon that require a lot of energies to use their attacks, and either they're too slow to get the energies and be ready by the time your opponent hasn't kicked your ass yet, or they don't really have any better way to accelerate. Like some Pokemon, let's say if they're lightning or metal, they can use Magnezone shit like that, but not everybody can do that. So what we're going to look at today is a lot of different attackers that maybe can be combined with Electrode GX for some fun combos and some competitive strategies though that can actually maybe do some shit. Since Electrode GX is a Stage 1 Pokemon already, I'm only going to look at basic Pokemon and other Stage 1s, because if you want to get out of Stage 1 and a Stage 2, it's probably too much. You want to make this as realistic as possible. The Pokemon that I'm going to look at are going to be basic and Stage 1s, like I've said, and they're going to be Pokemon that have big-ass attacks that can do a lot of damage, are going to take advantage of Electrode GX's ability, and have a lot of HP, so they can take a hit or two. So that's the important thing. We don't want to power up just anything. We want to power up something that can hopefully survive a hit or two at least. So ideally what you want to do, depending on whether you play first or second, you want to get your Electrode GX as soon as possible by turn 2 or 3, depending if you play first or not, and somehow get the energies in the discard pile using maybe Ultra Balls, other discarding cards like Sycamore, have the shit ready, and get the energies on your attacker as soon as possible. If it's a Stage 1, you want to have that dude evolved as well. If it's a basic Pokemon, you don't have to worry so much. Since it's just a basic, you don't have to evolve that another Pokemon too. So that's what you want to do. It's a difficult thing, but if you manage to make it work, it can be pretty cool. So we're going to look at a bunch of different Pokemon here. So the first Pokemon we're going to look at is the Prism Pokemon from Ultra Prism and Forbidden Light. Now these Pokemon, you can only run one of them, so you're going to have to combine it with a bunch of other Pokemon. You can maybe combine them all together and put all sorts of energies in your deck. Since Electrode GX is cool like that, you can grab any energy, combine different sorts of Pokemon, but it won't be easy. But some of the best Pokemon, of course, the Prism Pokemon, we're going to talk about Solgaleo first. This dude with 160 HP is pretty big, nice resistance to Psychic, and has Corona Impact. So with this dude, you do straight up 160. You're going to want to combine this with Dawn Rinks Necrozma GX to reset the timer in his attack. Otherwise, he's going to get stuck there. He's going to do a good chunk of damage, take care of a lot of the Stage 2 Pokemon, but most importantly with the Choice Band, you're at 190. So you get knockouts on basic GXs that don't have the Fury Belt. So that's not bad. You don't quite get the knockout on Stage 1 GXs, but it's pretty good, you know? You can put the Frying Pan too, make it more defensive, and you can use maybe Blissey, another Stage 1 Pokemon, I believe from Guardians Rising. I don't remember. It's another Pokemon that you can actually use with Electrode GX that does 160 for 4, but it's probably no good because it does too much self-damage. But you can use its ability, heal 80, and sort of make Solgaleo a little tank, and it might be pretty good. So that's the first tactic you can try. Tanking and healing with Blissey, making attacking with Corona Impact pretty decent. So the other Pokemon from Ultra Prism is Darkrai Prism. So this Pokemon also has 160 HP, different weakness but the same psychic resistance. And it's a dark dude, you can take advantage of his type in different ways. But this Pokemon is different in the sense that with Nightmare Star, you also have a sort of self-sufficient energy acceleration on himself. So when you play this down on the bench, you can put 2 darkness energy, so you know you only need 2 more with Electrode GX, and then you can put the rest on other Pokemon. So you can do that shit. And with Abyssal Sleep, its attack, it's mostly a dude that's gonna relies on control, getting 2-hit knockouts instead of focusing on, let's say, getting 1-hit knockouts to do mass damage. At 120, you probably don't knock out a lot of things. But with the double sleep, meaning that it puts the Pokemon to sleep and they need to flip 2 hits to wake up, you sort of stun them and hope sort of they get stuck there, and then you finish them off next turn. So it's another interesting Pokemon. A big HP you can take advantage of. There's a bunch of interesting darkness Pokemon like the Burning Shadows Darkrai 2. That's also pretty interesting. If you use your GX attack, if your opponent uses GX attack, I think, yeah, it does 160 straight up for 3. There's other Darkness Pokemon like Eviltall Break and shit too if you want to use that. All sorts of Pokemon. So Darkrai Prism, another interesting dude. Next up we got Giratina Prism from Ultra Prism as well. This dude also has the same first ability with Darkrai. It can be self-sufficient. You play this down, you can put 2 psychic energies on him. But it does big damage like Solgaleo. The only difference is that you discard energies, but you can still use the attack next turn. You don't have to switch. So this dude might not be that good because if you start discarding energies, it's not like you can use Electrode GX a million times since you need to evolve him and you lose 2 prizes instantly. So discarding energies isn't that maybe good if you're going to use Electrode GX, which is why I don't really recommend Rayquaza, the Shiny Rayquaza from Shiny Legends. That's also a pretty interesting Pokemon, of course, because you can instantly do 190, but then you're going to have to find a way to attach the energies back. So maybe it's not so good. This guy only discards 2 though, and can also use Chaotic Star, so maybe it's not bad. If you use this with Lunala Prism, even though it's not so good, you have a sort of additional psychic partner dude, and there's plenty of great psychic Pokemon that you can partner him up with. You can even use, well no, not really, you can't use Wobbuffet, it blocks your own ability. There's all sorts of psychic Pokemon and a lot of psychic support. You can make all sorts of combinations and experiment with that. And then the last Prism Pokemon that's probably worth a damn is Volcanion, Forbidden Light. This Pokemon is all around great if you ask me. You got Jet Geyser, a useful ability to have. Its HP is good. Sono Blast is a very solid attack. You do 100, but it always does 20 to all of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So the damage can really add up. You can combine this with a few other water Pokemon I'm going to mention later. Water also has a lot of support. You can also use the Aqua Patch too. So it's another interesting high HP Pokemon that can do a lot of damage to power up. So these are the Prism Pokemon. And next we're going to go to some Stage 1s. And I'm going to look at a few basic Pokemon too maybe. I think everything that's left, yeah, we do have still a bunch of basic Pokemon. So first of all, we have the Crabominable duo, the fighting and the water one. So the fighting one is probably better because fighting Pokemon, you can also use Diancie Prism. So Diancie Prism, you probably don't want to power up with Electrode, but fighting Pokemon also have that benefit. You have Diancie down, Crabominable does a lot of damage. So this dude, normally when people looked at it, they would look at it for the Gutsy Hammer, since it does 80 for 1. But because of the shitty effect, it's not even that good. With 140 HP and a good second attack if you use Electrode GX, Double Stomp, it does 80 damage, and your flip 2 coins is going to do 40 for each heads. So on average, maybe you can do 140, 120 I mean. But you also have Diancie Prism to power yourself up, and if you use strong energies too, combined with a bunch of other Pokemon, maybe Regirock EX too, the damage can add up. And you also have maybe Gutsy Hammer to fall back on, I guess, if you don't get the Electrode GX combo. You can use maybe Gutsy Hammer. So interesting Crabominable, probably not the best Pokemon, but one of the Stage 1 options here. Certainly not the best fighting option. We have a few other ones that are probably better. And then the Water Crabominable, this is from the first Sun and Moon set. This dude also has 140 HP, and it has 2 solid attacks that you can fall back on. Straight 140 always for 4 energy with Ice Hammer. So with a Choice Band, you're at 170. That's not so good. And Avalanche, that's interesting too. You do 80 and you always do 10 on the bench. So this guy is interesting because it has 2 sort of attacks to fall back on. It's a water Pokemon, so you can combine it with a few of the Pokemon I'm going to mention soon. You can combine this maybe with Volcanion Prism too. So that's interesting as a water Pokemon. So nice little Stage 1. So the other good fighting options that we have is going to be Mudsdale. So this is from Guardians Rising 2, and this dude has 140 HP, and high horsepower is a very strong attack. So for 4 energy, you do 180 damage. So with a Choice Band, you're at 210. So that knocks out a lot of things. So this is one of the heavier hitters, one of the Pokemon that are maybe actually really good to combine with Electrode GX. Now, you do also do 40 damage to yourself, and that kind of sucks, which is why the healing strategy with Blissey, maybe some potions, or maybe some other healers, is something to think about. Maybe something like Leafeon GX with Floatstone on the Adonomix Cosmo GX. You get that dude active, heal your Pokemon, and then attack with Mudsdale. So all sorts of combos, you need a bunch of different cards. But his 4 energy attack definitely can't be ignored. 180. You think about this Pokemon being a fighting, if you have Diancie down, it's 200 before even any other add-ons from Choice Band and shit. You can obviously use strong energy too for as long as we have that. Regirock EX. So definitely a heavy hitter. It's definitely something that's probably worthwhile to power up with Electrode GX. And then the last fighting dude is going to be the Beware, however you pronounce this dude. We actually have two. We got the fighting one, and the Guardian Rising one isn't half bad either. The Guardian Rising one is colorless, so that means it's really flexible. You can combine this with all sorts of these Pokemon that I'm going to talk about. Any of the ones I already mentioned, since it works on colorless energy. And Dangerous Blow, this is a basic sort of tech dude. If the active Pokemon is a basic Pokemon, you do 120. Now the cool thing about this Pokemon is that when you evolve into it, you can also draw 3 cards, which can be very helpful with Rake It In. So that's something to think about. But the main dude is probably going to be the fighting one from Crimson Invasion. This Pokemon is a fighting Pokemon, which means it has all the benefits I talked about with Mudsdale. You got the Anti-Prism, fighting and strong energies, Regirock EX, shit like that. It only needs 1 fighting energy to use Cross Cut, so that's good too. You can maybe use this with a bunch of other of the Pokemon I mentioned. It's going to do 120 if you attack an evolution Pokemon, which are usually the Pokemon that are seeing play right now. GX evolution Pokemon, stage 1s. Now, it already has good HP with 130, but with Fluffy, it's going to take 30 less damage from all attacks of your Pokemon, as long as they're not fire. There are not really a lot of competitive fire Pokemon out there, so you're usually going to get the Fluffy effect off. So it makes him even sturdier. So it's a really good stage 1 dude that can do a lot of damage. You're going to be at 150, and is my maths right? Yeah, 170 with Diancie Prism. If you have a strong energy on him, 190. So he's doing solid damage. And with these Pokemon, guys, it's not necessarily that you want to get one-hit knockouts. If you can start doing, like by turn 2 or 3, attack with big chunks of damage with these 130 HP, 140 HP Pokemon, you should be pretty good. You're gonna get 1-hit knockout, 2-hit knockouts, and put the pressure on the opponent. You guys can see that they also do have the possibility to get 1-hit knockouts. A lot of these Pokemon at 190 damage and shit like that. It's solid damage to get 1-hit knockouts on basic GX Pokemon. Okay, so these are the fighting dudes. Next up, we're gonna look at the Gyarados from Burning Shadows. So we only have this Gyarados that's probably worth it, and there's going to be one that's also pretty good that's going to come out in Dragon Majesty if they didn't change that shit as well. But for now we have this Pokemon. With 150 HP, Gyarados is pretty good as a stage 1. It almost has as much HP as the stage 2 GXs have. So that's really nice. And the Splash Burn, you do straight up 160. The 30 damage that it does to all of your bench Pokemon can be negated if you run Mime. It's pretty easy. And Mime helps out from a lot of shit from your opponents too. Tapu Kokos and shit like that is a good little Pokemon to run. So you have a nice solid Pokemon here with a very big HP that's going to do 160 damage consistently. You always have the option of Choice Band, and with a lot of these stage 1s, you always have the option of dumbbells too, so make them even tankier. So very, very nice. Healing with Blissey, like I've said, and other methods. So pretty nice. Gyarados, pretty simple Pokemon. Just a high HP, do a lot of damage. Water Pokemon too, so you can combine it maybe with Volcanion. I always forget his name. Volcanion, I already talked about. Maybe Chromometable, the water one. So all sorts of combos. Okay, so now let's get into the good shit. The Safeguard dudes. So we have 2 very good Safeguard Pokemon. You got the first one that got released, the Alolan Ninetales. And since this is a water Pokemon, it's basically a no-brainer. You can combine it with the water Pokemon I mentioned. You got the option of Aqua Patch too. You could use it with Volcanion, man. All the other Pokemon I mentioned. Gyarados, you can use from Burning Shadows, the same set. And since you only need 1 water energy, Alolan Ninetales is pretty flexible. You can combine this with a lot of Pokemon if you run a bunch of different energies in your Electrode GX deck. Now with Luminous Barrier, of course, this Pokemon gives you the defense of GX Pokemon, and you do solid damage for 80, so that's not a bad thing to use with Electrode GX. And then the other dude, that maybe you can use them together even, is Hoopa. This is our basic Safeguard dude with Scoundrel Guard. It does the same shit, but it's a basic Pokemon. It has even more HP. It's a Darkness dude, so you can use this with Darkrai Prism as well, and basically anyone. The best thing to do is maybe combine a bunch of different Pokemon and have a bunch of different energies in the deck. Alright, remember you can even get DCEs with Electrode GX, so that's pretty good. Okay, so Hoopa and Ninetales, they're pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory. There's not much to say. They're Pokemon that are kind of slow. They need 3 energies to work. With Safeguard, they're pretty defensive. They're going to give trouble to your opponent. So, something to think about. Alright, next up we got my personal favorite stuff. It's going to be Pokemon that came first in my mind. We have Regigigas from Crimson Invasion. So this is the biggest Pokemon you can take advantage of, and possibly the one that really exploits Electrode GX the most. It just seems like they're perfect together because it has 180 HP, very high for a Pokemon that only gives 1 prize, higher than the Prism Pokemon too. Giant Stop, it works with any energy, so you can put whatever the fuck you want on it, and it does 160 damage, and always going to discard a stadium in play. So you probably won't run your own stadium, but you're always going to discard your opponent's stadium, so that's good. So this is a very good partner for Electrode GX. With this ability, you're going to need Regirock, Regirise, Registeel on the bench so this Pokemon can attack. But it's really easy, and there's all of the Regirock, Registeel, and Regiices that have been released so far from Crimson Invasion and Celestial Storm. The rest are in there. They're all very good. The Registeel and Crimson Invasion can help you get energies. Regice, both of them do some disruption stuff and can give you defense against Stage 2 Pokemon too. Regirock is not half bad either. And the Registeel, the one that's more interesting from the same set Celestial Storm, is a Pokemon that can actually be combined with Electrode GX too. It's a basic Pokemon with 120 HP. With Exoskeleton, is very defensive. It's going to block 20 damage. And if your opponent's Pokemon has an ability, which most of them probably will, you do 60 extra damage. So it's also a Pokemon that does solid damage, 120, and you can power it up with Electrode GX. So, you know, you already have Regigigas, but you have Registeel as backup attacker too. Maybe take advantage of the weakness against Gardevoir GX, shit like that. So it's pretty nice. There's all sorts of combinations you can do. So I don't think it's really difficult to get a few Regis to make Regigigas be able to attack. You will have the space on the bench. Electrode GX is going to get knocked out, so you get the energy, so you should have space for another Regigigas, maybe another Pokemon, and the Regis down to attack. So they just go perfectly together. And with the biggest, being the biggest dude he is, you can do the healing strategies and all this stuff most efficiently, since he's the biggest dude. Only a basic Pokemon too. Very good Pokemon. Hope some people figure a way to make it work. If I had the cards, I'd try some shit. Okay. So next we got the Fire Dudes. We've got 2 Pokemon here. I have Camerupt from Crimson Invasion. So this Pokemon is a stage 1 with 140 HP, so it's big enough. And you can actually do 2 combos with this dude. You can do a solid 120 attack with Searing Flame, and with the burn you're at 140. So with the Choice Band you're at, let's see, 170, so that's not bad. And you can also even try the continuous headbutt shit. So what you can do is actually instantly power this dude up, have a bunch of Victinis down from Guardians Rising that let you flip a coin again for your coin attack, and flip a coin until you get heads. If you get just 3 heads basically, you're doing 240 damage, so knocking out anything. So it's not that difficult. So this is more of your gimmick dude, but it can work, man. You can try it out. You know, it's some luck shit, and that can be annoying if your opponent is doing it and getting lucky on you. But it's really realistic, and you have 2 options for attacks, like I've said. You can do the solid attack if you want to, and you can do the continuous headbutt shit too. So, really nice. The other Pokemon is going to be Magmortar from Ultra Prism. So this is a really cool Pokemon because it has a useful ability too. With Incandescent, incandescent body, I think that's how you pronounce it in English. You always burn the opponent when they attack McMortar. Always. Like even if, I mean, I guess he has to be active, so okay. So that's already 20 free damage. And if they don't lose the burn, it's even more. With Fire Blaster, you can do 80 for 3, but you can discard 2 energies from this Pokemon and do 160. So with 160, the 20 extra you get from the burn, and a choice band, you're at 210. So you knock out most of the popular Stage 1 GX Pokemon. So you discard energies too, but it's only 2 energies, and you don't even have to do this always. So you have the option to do straight up 80 if you want to. And, I mean, there's other fire Pokemon that maybe you can use, like the Volcanion from Steam Siege for as long as it's around. You can try that, combine it with this Pokemon too. There's all sorts of combos you can try with this fire Pokemon as well. It's just an interesting dude if you want to go the fire route. I can't think of many other Pokemon. So, you know, with Electrode GX, if you manually attach an energy and get 5 on this dude, you possibly have, let's say, 2 free Fire Blaster attacks when you can discard energies and do mass damage. So it's like, if you do shit right, you have 210 attacks free like that. So you have two chances to get knockouts on Stage 1 GX Pokemon like that. So it's not bad. It's kind of, you have to do the maths with the energies because you attach an energy per turn too. So with the 5 you get, and I mean, fuck, you can actually get DCs, like I've said. You can get, well, we don't have scramble energies, but maybe we have, no, we don't have double rainbow energy, I think, either, but you can just discard a DC and it works. You don't have to discard fire energies from McMortar. It just says discard any 2 energies. So, man, you can just get a bunch of DCs and it's going to do the job. Very, very interesting. So these are the fire dudes. Okay. So next up we have the energy, the crazy effect dudes, crazy hacks effect dudes. Drapion and Crawdont. We're going to look at Crawdont first. So these Pokemon are similar in that they only have 1 attack. They're stage 1s, but the attack does some crazy shit. So Crawdont is probably the best one in my opinion, and it might be like the best Pokemon of all the dudes, of all the partners, maybe besides Regigigas. Because this Pokemon does 80 damage for 4, but it always discards 2 energies from your opponent's active Pokemon. So that's amazing, man. It's a double energy removal always. So if you do this all the time, you're gonna fuck up your opponent's energies. You know, they're gonna attach them, try to attack, unless they get a one-hit knockout on this dude, which I'm not gonna lie, it's not that difficult with 110 HP. It's not terrible, but it's not the best either. So maybe instead of a choice band, you want to attach something like dumbbells on this dude to make it 150. But always discarding 2 energies from your opponent's active Pokemon might be something, man. It's pretty disruptive. So a water Pokemon, you can use this with Gyarados, you can use this with Ninetales, Volcanion, all sorts of shit. Other Pokemon too. It needs a lot of water energy, so maybe you can't combine it with anything you want. But Pokemon that use a lot of colorless energies or the water Pokemon that I mentioned should be pretty simple. And then the other Pokemon is Drapion. This Pokemon has more HP, 130, is more respectable. And this dude, instead of discarding energies, it always paralyzes and poisons the opponent. So this Pokemon is also pretty good. You can combine this with the survivors from Burning Shadows, and with always paralyzing the opponent, it means they always have to use something like Guzma or Donwix Necrozma GX with a Float Stone. These are pretty common scenarios, but always paralyzing the opponent can put them in a rough spot. This is why I think if you go this sort of heavy disruptive route, Crawdon might be better. But, you know, Drapion has more HP. You have more options for extra damage with the poison, the survivors, and, you know, it's also pretty interesting with always paralyzing the opponent. And I think you don't, yeah, both Pokemon don't discard energies. So all Psychic Dude, all Psychic energies, you can combine this with the Lunala, the Giratina, other Psychic Pokemon. There's plenty of them to choose from. So pretty interesting. Okay, and then the last dudes, I almost forgot actually. We got to talk about Golisopod too from Guardians Rising. So this is a great partner. Golisopod, This is already an amazing tech, sort of anti-meta Pokemon, but once again, the problem is that it needs a bunch of energy to work, and even though it's compatible with DCs, it's not really that fast. With Electrode GX though, you can power it up instantly, and it's pretty good. With 130 HP, is quite solid, is solid enough, and with armor, you always get 30 less anyway, so pretty defensive Pokemon. You can use the fucking the Lurantis promos to increase your damage further, or you can use Leafeon GX2 to heal it. It's a grass Pokemon too, so you can attach energies on that Pokemon as well. So good shit here, but it's good because Resolute Claws is a solid attack. You do 80 damage, but if your opponent's Pokemon is GX or EX, you do 70 more. So you're at 150 with the Choice Band 180, and if you boost the damage further with Lurantis's, you get one-hit knockouts. And even if you don't, like I've said, you do heavy chunks of damage with this Pokemon, you're always gonna get fucking 2-hit knockouts on GX Pokemon. I mean, fuck, you don't even need to put a Choice Band. You might be better off putting dumbbells on, and with armor, make it a great tank, heal it off with Leafeon GX or Blissey, and have a good tank that easily gets 2-hit knockouts on GX Pokemon. So a very good option. Almost forgot about this dude. Okay, but then the last dudes left, the metal dudes, is that we have the basic dude first, Celesteela, a 140 HP Pokemon. This Pokemon does straight 160 damage for 5 energies. That's all it has. And if the total of both players' remaining prizes is exactly 6, this deck can only be used for 1 metal energy, I think. Can be used for metal. 1 for metal, yeah. So only 1 energy. So you have this sort of additional sort of effect to fall back on maybe if it comes up. You don't have energies. So that's something. 160 is a lot of damage. So a metal Pokemon you can combine with a bunch of shit, like Solgaleo. And the other dude, the last Pokemon, is going to be Steelix. So Steelix isn't really a great ass attacker, but it makes up for it for the mass HP. You know, that 190 HP on a stage 1 can't be ignored. So with 190 HP, you put the fucking frying pan on him, the metal frying pan, or dumbbells, depending on your preference, and this becomes a hell of a tank, as it's always been designed to. Steelix has always been a tanky Pokemon focusing on tank and healing abilities. Not necessarily doing the best damage, but doing enough to get the job done on 2-hit knockouts. With Tail Crush, you do 80 for 3, and you can flip a coin if heads you do 40 more, so 120 for 3. It's solid, it's not that bad, I guess, if you get the heads. And either way, I mean, you can put the Choice Band, you're going to get 2-hit knockouts that way anyway on GX stage Pokemon. And if you want to, you can go for the further tank shit with a frying pan or dumbbells. It's another Pokemon that you can really take advantage of with 190 HP. It's going to survive a hit. The problem is, like I've said, is that it's a slow attacker. But with powering it up instantly with Electrode GX, instantly starting to do solid damage on a big Pokemon like this that only gives 1 prize, you know, can be pretty pressuring on your opponent. Metal Pokemon, you can combine it with a bunch of shit. The Blissey strategy, the Leafeon GX strategy, healing strategy on Steelix as a tank is probably your best bet. So these are some of the best Pokemon that I thought of and found out from the Sun and Moon sets. I didn't really go look on the older sets, but there's probably a lot of great Pokemon over there too. And obviously these aren't all the Pokemon. There's a bunch of other Pokemon, like maybe you can use the Ultra Beasts, like the Buzzle, the regular with the fighting one, and other tactics that I thought of but probably aren't as efficient, or other stage 1 Pokemon that I thought, hey, okay, maybe you can use them, but it's probably not a good idea. There's probably better options. So these are just some interesting options that I thought of that I think are pretty good. Partners for Electrode GX. Try some crazy shit. The ones that stand out for me are the Regigigas one, the Steelix one, maybe the Hax Duo, Crawdon or Drapion. Golisopod is pretty good. Mutt still can't be ignored with that high damage it does. The fighting dudes in general. Bearware, the fighting one too. Maybe Gyarados, all of them actually. Obviously the Safeguard dudes, Hoopa and Ninetales, they're great. You can combine all sorts of these Pokemon together. Maybe 2 of them, 3 of them. A lot of options. The Prism Pokemon, of course, are great. The ones that, let's say, the Chromominables, maybe they're not the best options. Maybe, see, Magmortar, I feel it's a good option too, Magmortar. Camera Up is also pretty good if you want to go the Victini coin route. I guess the Beware that draws you cards maybe is not so good either, but it's something to think about. If you're going to use the Fighting Beware anyway, why not? Give you solid damage on basic Pokemon too, why not have it as a tech? So all of them are pretty respectable. Maybe the weakest options are Chromominable, the Fighting one, and the Water one maybe. And maybe the Prism Pokemon, they're good, but you're going to have to combine them with a bunch of other Pokemon. You can't necessarily use them on their own because you can only run one of each. So maybe Solgaleo isn't bad. Darkrai if you run Hoopa and a bunch of other dark Pokemon isn't bad. Volcanion is great for the water Pokemon. I actually dig that dude a lot. And Giratina, probably not so good, but all of them are options that you can combine. They're best if they get combined with other Pokemon. So very, very cool strategy with Electrode GX you can try. Safeguard Pokemon, big tank Pokemon. The strategy is basically this, guys. You use a Pokemon that normally wasn't going to have a chance, surprise your opponent, do a lot of damage. Regigigas, man, I would be so happy if this won World somehow. Great. This is my thoughts on Electrode GX. It's up to you guys to experiment, try shit out, combine Pokemon, look through the other sets for other cards to combine it with, use other partners to support, maybe not necessarily just use them as an attacker. So hope you guys enjoyed, hope you guys subscribe, leave a like, share this with your friends. Cerebral24, what's up?